Well, hello everybody. This is Don from Wizard Tower Games, and with me is Mr. Tim Kask. Tim, how you doing?
Good.
Tonight we are going to be talking about world building. We're going to be talking about uh, world building. And if you have any questions, any comments, you want to ask Tim questions, the chat's open. Be sure to drop a question for Tim. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer it.
Right.
Tim, world building 101. Let's start
Well,
off with where the
okay.
hell.
I'm going to make some assumptions. If you're ready to build your world, um, then I'm going to say that you've been playing for a while. That's what's
Mhm.
driven this desire. So from there's several interrelated considerations that you kind of all have to throw them in the pot and see what you want to do.
Yep.
How big is your world going to be? What kind of land masses are you going to have? Is your campaign going to be on a land mass? Are there going to be others that you can tie story hooks to around your world? Okay, but that you have to decide right off. Then when you get your land mass, you got to think about your temperature and your climate and your biome. What biome will this land mass support?
Mhm.
Are you near the equator? Well, it's going to be tropical. And it's logical to think that tropical things, whether real or made up in our game, would thrive in a tropical environment. You, unless you've got Pangea,
Mhm.
you can't have you can't logically have frozen Arctic North and frozen Arctic South
Yeah.
if you're going to model on our world. You don't have to. It's fantasy.
Yeah, it's fantasy. You don't have to model on our world. You can make up your own little biosphere, can't you?
You can, and it doesn't matter if your world works or not, but some people will feel compelled to pick it apart, pardon me, pick it apart if it isn't.
But
I
but
mean, there's
isn't
always the pickers out there. They don't want to do it themselves. They'll let you do it, and then they'll tell you all the things that you did wrong.
but isn't a good way of handling that, Tim, is if you're going to do something off the norm, is to maybe in the very beginning of your world setting offer an explanation of why things are the way they are.
Right. In my particular world, Makanda, I have semi many scattered Australia or sized places because I had a Pangea that was sundered when the magic users tapped in to the wrong thing. And that was many thousands of years ago. But that's how I justify the sizes of my land masses. And then I can also have this one be temperate and this one be tropical just by where they are on my globe, my
Hmm.
imaginary globe. Long
Yep.
time ago, I found a real primitive program for making continents and a map making thing, and I probably still have it around somewhere. I liked one of the ones that spit out, and then I made it. As all D&Ders do, I made it my own, and I moved stuff around in that. But that's the first thing you want to do, and fudge. If you don't want to write jungle adventures right off, fudge and just make it temperate
Hmm.
and don't go so far afield that you no longer feel like you know what your world is.
Yeah.
Okay, but you have to decide, okay, I know where I'm going to have my first campaign in a new world,
Hmm.
or where if you're importing an existing game, then you have carte blanche to take a landmass and put all the stuff that you've done up to this point in your campaign on that landmass.
Yeah.
But if as we'll assume that you're thinking about starting it together, what level of civilization are they? All Stone Age? Are you gonna, uh, Middle Ages like so many of us do in D&D? Um, where are they going to be in that regard of civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And then you decide, okay, you've got to figure out so many different things, but the biggest thing you want to get out right at the very beginning is your economy.
Mm-hmm.
What does a gold piece buy?
And are you going to use gold pieces?
Right. Okay. But what does your bigger in my world, for 4 or 5 silvers, you can get a real fine meal
Mm-hmm.
in a tavern and a good drink to go with it and that. Because in my world, gold is a very rare commodity. And I think that's the way it should be. I think D&D, and myself included back in the day, we kind of cheapened gold.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was everywhere,
Yeah.
everybody was looting Smog's hoard. Who's here?
Scaleforge 3D is here. Scaleforge says hello to everybody. And then Thyatis is in here. Both Thyatis and Scaleforge are both regular commenters on our videos.
Okay,
And
well,
so
they're mute tonight, apparently.
No, I'm sure they're going to get into questions as soon as you get more deeper into this.
Okay, well, the level of your civilization is going to tie into the actual economy, whether it's a barter system and precious metals are very rare, or if you're in a later medieval type system where money's everywhere, or in a Tolkien-esque setting, or some other type of world. God, Tolkien had all Smog was like 7 Fort Knoxes.
Yeah.
And I would think that I would posit that when all that money came out and went into circulation, inflation went.
Yeah.
All right. So that's something you have to think about in your setting up your economy.
Mm-hmm.
Because are you going to have hordes of precious metals? You can make pearls in where you start worth next to nothing. But somewhere else, those pearls might be worth a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those aspects of the economy that you want to have at least an idea. So when one of your players says, well, yeah, what can I do with these pearls? What good are they? And you have an idea of where you can spin the story from there,
Mm-hmm.
ad-libbing all along the way, skipping gaily down the path. But you have an idea.
Yeah.
Because the economy and the civilization level are inexplicably and unbreakably, no, that's not very good. Anyway, there's a word in there.
Tim,
they have to be considered together.
Tim Thias has a comment. He says, also take into account current political issues in a region. If a local government has fallen or is powerless against brigands, barter economy may be common if no one is minting coin.
Well, okay. Again, this is going to depend on how you set it up. If you're late medieval or dark, go Dark Ages. That's a fun place to run a campaign in the Dark Ages, in terms of the currency and the economy and that. It's a good place. And competing coins, currency, and all that. Yeah, but you're jumping ahead of yourself here. You're already created something that's got other countries and whatever here. I'm starting at the very bottom, and you're jumping into countries. All right. St. Cuthbert asked, when you're planning your new world game, do you start from a larger map idea, or do you like to start from a smaller, maybe single city or town and work outward? Well, I don't jump out in the big world, but I do select a landmass. And I may only develop a small part of that landmass, but I need a landmass that this has to be part of so that I can spin other things as the story develops and the players write the next chapters. It's there. If I put this all on a little tiny, if I put this all on Oahu, the campaign would be over in a pretty short time.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you were, yeah, it'd be over a pretty short time. There's not a lot there. Oh, I see. Chris
Okay.
Wright has chimed in.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer Cuthbert's question, no, I obviously have an adventure, a new hook, whatever to get this ball all started. But again, you can go back once you've got your world established and said, okay, this thing that we played 2 years ago actually took place over here. And you can populate your world that way with stuff that happened before. Okay, that's all right, Theatis, not a problem. Um, Political issues are going to be dependent upon the level of your civilization.
Yeah.
A village of 12 houses, maybe 50 people, is going to have a different thing. And that may be where you start out
Mm-hmm.
than a city of, 6,000. 6,000 is likely to have a governing council and all that stuff. Now, how far you want to get into that in your campaign depends on your players' willingness to give up killing things and taking their shit. Because, I mean, let's face it, that's what we do. I
Yeah.
wouldn't. So Jim, I don't always worship Satan, but when I do, it's by playing D&D. Yeah, let's go back to that. Why don't we? Okay, where was I? Okay, you've decided on a biome. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's going to be temperate or whatever desert. I try to write adventures in different biomes just to make people play outdoors in a different setting. But that's because I'm mean and cruel. You've got your economy figured out
Okay.
before you start, because you're going to be giving them money and you're going to be giving them jewels and they're going to be finding stuff. And so having an idea of where you're going before you have to go there, like a map, is a real good idea when you're dealing with what your economy is going to be like, because you can give them a simple list, five silver pieces, a really nice meal, and a mug of good ale. You can do that, and all of a sudden they go, wow, gold's worth a lot, because I don't see gold. All of a sudden silver and copper are worth more. And you can do that once you get the big gold hit, the big jackpot. Your economy's the inflation's gonna go through the sky. If
Real quick,
the
Tim.
DM is playing the town right, in my opinion, I mean right by human nature.
Yes.
Gold is cheap, well, I'll charge more.
And real quick, Tim.
Yes.
The commenter came in. We talked about right before our video.
Oh, that dude. Oh. Well, to answer the first one, I wasn't, as anybody who's watched before. And to the second, there was no agreement, simply an inquiry. Is this the troll that bothers you all the time?
Yeah. This is
the one
troll.
that's hiding behind the onion.
Yes.
Oh, good. Wait till he finds out that onions are in no way impenetrable.
Make this account.
Yes.
Let me
troll.
do this.
Well, anybody that hides behind a fake name is a coward. Anyone who keeps repeating the same lies is a liar.
I am trying to remove it. There we go. He's gone. Should be gone. Let me see here.
Don't misgender. I didn't know I didn't know it had a gender.
I think it's gone now.
Yeah,
Nope,
yeah,
it's not. I'm trying to figure out how to do this.
yeah. Well, it's obviously such bullshit because
Yeah.
on my own videos, I read my letter of resignation, which was accepted the next day. So I wasn't fired. Anyway, where was I? Oh, back to economy. Another thing to think about when you start making up treasures is what are you going to do with them? You got to set up a merchant that wants to buy them. You know, this is all economy. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of DMs miss out on a lot of fun ignoring economic type things that you can do. Um, when back in Lake Geneva, oh, you know, back in the days when there was all fog, um, you went to town with a horde. You looted a big, and by God, town found a way to separate you from it. Prices went up, and we're talking Gary and Rob here, and Ernie, but mainly Gary and Rob. Um, you go to town, and with a wad, you will leave town without it
Mhm.
unless you plan ahead. And as a DM, find as many ways as you can. If you feel that you, oh crap, I gave them too much, you know, they got too rich. Now, as they become more wealthy, whether it's in goods or whatever, now there's an adventure in a much bigger. We went from a village, now let's go to a town. And
Mhm.
you can set the next adventure or the path of that one to a town. Now you have, or when they want to sell some stuff that nobody in this little village has money to buy, that's when they go to town
Yeah.
and they find magic vendors or buyers or shady pawn shops or however you want to run that. That's where the loot goes. Now, if they're smart, they'll make exceptions to that. They'll put some away and bank it. Give them a bank when they get to a big enough city. Let
Either
them,
that or the crooked innkeeper who drugs your ale
oh, well,
and
yeah. I mean,
takes all your gold.
yeah,
You-
and that kind of stuff. Um, it's just not even being mean.
Mhm.
It's just being, hey, I'm just playing human nature.
Yep.
And you have, I mean, good God, when it cost $10 an egg during the gold rush, gold, $10 gold, which
Mhm.
is about, oh, that was 40% of an ounce.
Mhm.
Yeah, wow, back when the old prices. So there's no reason not to. If you want to play a realistic campaign and get into local politics and stuff like that, okay, you have a continent now, a landmass that you have the luxury of deciding, okay, this will be here. And even if you have experienced players, it's good to go back and let them be reminded that it's all not a gravy train.
That's right.
Yeah, these guys don't have anything we want, so chances are they're not going to be nasty, and you can give them some chances to be nice
Mhm.
and start cleaning up the local problems. But that's down the road. That's why you're setting your world up now, and you have an economy, a scale in place. How much we've already discussed how much of your planet's going to be land mass, how much is going to be water. On your land mass, you're going to have lots of little ponds and lakes and rivers. Those are always fun things to have there
Mhm.
because all manner of misfortune can, can befall you in any of those situations.
Yep.
And it should be real. I mean, remember that we played outdoors. The only outdoor game ever before us was outdoor survival. And we actually used the boards as DM screens before there were DM screens.
Oh,
And
really?
outdoor survival is an old Avalon Hill game that's very basic, it's not as bad as Oregon Trail.
Mhm.
You get dysentery, you die. You know, or your wagon steps in a prairie dog hole, game over. It's not that
Mhm.
bad. Not quite. Oh, I would actually like to smite the trolls, Cuthbert. Um, at which I'm hoping to smite a couple trolls in upcoming weeks and make them shrink to insignificance. So stay tuned. All right, what have I? Okay, now the most fun part of building your world is what are you going to call it? What are you going to call the village?
Mhm.
What are you going to call the creatures that live in the village, whether they're simian or humanoid or, whatever? What are you going to call them? You get to name all that stuff. But you got to start with where the first adventure is.
Mhm.
Wherever you're gonna transport your group, who's obviously just been playing in disjointed places along the cosmos forever long. Here they all are. In Gary's dungeon, Greyhawk, levels got reused. I mean, there were like, God, 30 or 40 of them to begin with. But what had been the orc level, when we cleaned out the orc level, and the gelatinous cubes and the carrion crawlers had eaten everything, all of a sudden the orc level is now the goblin level.
Mhm.
And he's used all the stuff he drew a long time ago, just used different parts of it this time. And there's a reusability factor to consider because you are going to be coming back to these basics. Where are we? What's the weather? What's the threat level? And I don't believe in a huge threat level right off the bat if you're going to introduce a new world. A minor threat level solved gives confidence to the group, gives them a chance to see how you're going to play it on this
Mhm.
world. Build a world that has funny stuff going on. In my world, there are many, many places that have very low mana, which means magic sometimes doesn't work
Mhm.
at all. And there's a few hot spots where God help you if you try to light that campfire, you'll burn down the tent.
Mhm.
So it's a quirk in my world. High mana, low mana. Players figure out a way how to determine that. Every time I've run it, somebody's figured out a way to tell where are we in that regard.
Mhm.
We in high or low.
Well,
There's been a couple of
Saint Cuthbert
videos.
has a question, Tim. He says,
Hmm?
Tim, Gary had a list of inspiring books in the DMG. What do you use as inspirational references? Smiting is good for converting others to your cause.
Yes, St. Cuthbert's Mace. Um, well, Gary and I became friends when in our initial conversation, we realized that we both read most of Appendix N. Appendix N. That's what made us tune in on the fact that we're each on a very similar wavelength, and that's what got me to go to Gen Con in '74 and meet face to face, and our relationship matured all along the way. I still like to read new stuff, and if I find something really clever, I'd put it in, no problem. And I think everybody should read Orcs and its associated books. Everybody should read Dwarves, and I think there's one or two of both. I give you an entirely new view on the bad guys.
Mhm.
I no longer just have hordes of I'm no longer a cheap Indian war movie, India, the subcontinent war movie, and have hordes of half-naked savages screaming, ah, and running at you. No, actually, I don't recall ever. I don't know what Twilight Fables is. I really don't.
You see, this is part of when you get to your level of people knowing who you are. Did the rumor mill of of going to use something you don't like the term of, but the legend of Tim Kask,
yeah.
um,
Yeah. The man, the myth, the
man, the
legend.
myth.
I have a T-shirt that says that. Was it Grandpa? The man, the myth, the legend. No, I'm not sure what Twilight Fables is. I have several books, many behind me, on European folklore. Several more over in a pile right there because I was doing something with them. I pick it up and I remember bits and pieces that pop up when I need them more often than not. I don't know how to explain it any better than that because I'm not exactly sure how it works. I'm a wicked Jeopardy player. I'll get Jeopardy answers and my wife looks at me like, yeah, it's just that's the way my head works. I have a random access memory, and it has a lot of branches, I guess. Um, Time to take a humble pill. I never hope that people begin to think that I'm a big head or anything like that.
Oh no, but Rod said, he says, "Ouch, that was the book I sent you last year, Tim, that you did a video on."
Oh, wait a minute. Is that the one in the woods, in the deep forest?
I mean, you read so much. I imagine.
Well, and if I talked about it, I should remember it. If that's the one that's coming out with a 5E slant in the deep forest, yeah, it's amazing. And I never heard what was going to happen with it.
Yeah, Scott
Well,
Mulder
come
says,
on, Rod, you must still be out there.
Yeah.
Let me know what happened.
Scott Mulder says, another surprise live. Luck I checked. Hi, Don and Tim. Hi, Tim. Tim, I look forward to playing at your game at WizardCon.
Well, I'm going to be running at least 3.
Well, he signed up for your private game.
A monster book. Well, I recently had a severe disruption in my area of the basement. My wife said I had to clean off the pool table.
Oh, horrible.
And so I have boxes of shit that I didn't, well, if I was putting them in the boxes, I'd still be doing it. Okay, I might not remember. If you showed me the cover, I'd probably go, oh yeah. But I'm 75 now, and I don't always remember titles so good. Sorry, no offense. The fox person on the cover. Sorry, it's buried in one of these many storage tubs of books in that. Oh, I remember the book now. Well, you didn't try to claim too much credit, did you? If I hadn't known everything I liked about the historical Fae, I wouldn't have liked your book. That's what I liked about it, as I recall, is that you respected the old myths and legends. It's really hard to make jokes online when you're typing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You try to be a little sarcastic and it comes out snarky. All's forgiven if I'm forgiven. All right. The monster book. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess. All right. Where was I? You're naming. If you look carefully at the 2 Gary Con adventures in the book, and you knew that part of Wisconsin, I named all kinds of crap using local names.
Mm-hmm.
My world is named after this little tiny town that was really nothing more than a post office and a couple of rural routes in the very tip of southern Illinois, just north of Giant City. Giant City is this amazing collection of enormous stones that came off one of the glaciers sometime way back when. And it looks as though giants built them. I'm not going to call it a Stonehenge because it's a natural thing. But I love the town of Makanda, so my world is called Makanda. I wrote an adventure that we may publish later that I used the name of a town that was near Makanda because we always see the sign with the arrow, and I changed the spelling a little bit. The two Gary Cons have a whole bunch of references to Walworth County and the area around Walworth County where Lake Geneva was. There's no sin in that.
Not at all. No.
And names is one of the hardest things some people struggle with. In fact, somewhere up there, I have the Gary's book of names and how to make names and the inexhaustible list of names. When he said, what would you like me to sign? I reached over and said, oh, give me the book of names. And so he signed it for me. This is after we reconciled back during the Lake Geneva Game Convention days. And it's got just list after list after list after list of names. Turn a page, blind, poke at one. Don't agonize over names. And I know so many people do. Don't. Don't. That doesn't make any difference.
Because there's literally dozens, if not hundreds, of names you have to make up if you're going to put it in a campaign world.
Yeah, and so, don't stress about it. Make stuff up. If you want to follow a theme, okay, with names that are, similar, like, I'm not picking on anybody here, like all Serbian names with distinctive spelling and diphthongs and phonemes and whatever. So what? Okay, it's good. But you got to name your world. You should have a name for the first continent upon which you play the first time. And then you got the rest of that continent. I always say you start them in the south. Because then you have all that continent spreading before you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just for them, it's for you. You can
Well,
put
it's easier
to
start low, I think, and move up than it is to start in the middle, because now you got to really go out and about with it, because depending where they want to go.
Well, and if your continent's big enough, you can have, large forested tracts or, big grassland or, basically anything you want. But you're above ground. Underground, there's no rules.
Yeah, Rod W. says, in my younger days, I'd use regular words spelled backwards. He says he's gotten more creative since then.
That's a pretty common, not to take anything away, Rod W., but yeah, I've seen that a lot of times. And yeah. And Jim comes in at the same minute, 8 seconds later. So it's saying the exact same thing. Yes. Reltmar the Reckless. Yes, I've heard many tales about Reltmar the Reckless. I made up silly names. I take two syllables. The campaign that I ran down in Carbondale was so ever changing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were testing various ideas for Gary. You had to keep the names constant. They had to know where they were going. Even though everything, they got there going, oh, this doesn't look, well, okay. Names can hang on to a place. Yeah, everybody knows Drawmidge. That was Jim Ward.
Mm-hmm.
And he did, he was his character, his most famous character was his name backwards. I tried that and doesn't, Kazakmet didn't work out very well. Okay, Theatis. Uh, get them any way you want. What my point is, as you're developing along, don't let that hang you up. When it comes time to start naming things, don't let that be a hang up. They're not, no offense intended, they're not nearly important enough to waste anguish on. Because it doesn't matter if you call it Dollywood. If they had a good time playing last week, they'll come back to Dollywood again next week. And I'm not trying to bash on Dolly. I really admire the woman. But as an example of ludicrous, yeah. Hi, we're in the Dollywood campaign. You go around and smash up well, no, that sounds more like post-apocalyptic. Go explore the remains of Dollywood. Should try a mix between German, Dutch, and English. Okay, yeah, whatever works. When I play, I'm real liberal about allowing at least some kind of pidgin between anybody, anybody. I think communication is so important that I let them immediately establish sign language, Plains Indian sign language, pidgin, whatever, because if it avoids bloodshed, especially if you don't know that these are the emissaries of 350 more warriors living in the interior of the continent.
Yeah.
So I try to use language as very loosely. Now, magic languages and religious languages, okay, that I don't deal with them a lot. I haven't created any. But
you really don't. I don't think you really have to really develop that type of stuff because if you run into somebody talking one of these languages, you don't have to have that person verbatim telling the player characters in their native language. You can just tell the player characters they're talking in a language you don't understand.
Well, yeah, that'll be a local vernacular. I always play loosey goosey with common.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the alignment languages, the evil language, whatever. I always thought that was just like some kind of secret code, some secret word. I didn't care what the word was, but if and if I had a circumstance where someone was trying to pass themselves off as something they weren't to avoid the party, well, then now you can play with languages and crap and say, oh, it didn't sound right. But in my world, almost everybody speaks common, at least pidgin common.
Yeah.
And that way there are far fewer miscommunications and a lot less bloodshed as a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Limburgish. Oh, I've seen that one. Limburgish, yeah, I've seen that one. Well, gee, Scale Forge 3D, you're a linguist.
Well, just to let you know, Scaleforge 3D is from the Netherlands.
Okay. Well, yeah, you had to learn all those just to figure out what your neighbors were saying. Now I understand. Two local spoken. Is one of them Walloon? We'll get an answer on that. We'll see. Don't name your horse because three rounds later, that dude will be on fire from Dagenbeth. Yeah, never name the horse. Jolly Blackburns played with that phobia amongst some players about naming the horse and stuff. As soon as you name it, it's dead. And he's done that in several of his over the years in several different storylines. As soon as you name something, it's dead. And his character in the wheelchair. I'll think of his name after I don't need it anymore. He wants to name everything. In the Cattle Punk series, they had a herd of several thousand cows, and he named them all. And every time one died, he had to check it off the list. Keerkradsplaat. Keerkrada. Okay. My players hate buying transportation in my games. Their feelings are exaggerated. But yeah, yeah. But hey, there have been times when I'll be damned, those two mules tied out there under the shady trees next to the little pond, the little puddle, are still there when they come back out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't just decide. It all depends on what's the surrounding of where they went in, or what they went into, or where they went down. What are the surroundings? Is a place loaded with wolves? Too bad. Count those two pack horses off. They'll either been eaten or pulled free in terror and run away. And again, it's just, but Gordo, yes, fairy pixies, pixie fairies, yes, yes, Gordo. He's a he's a great character. Yeah, he had to name all the cows in the whole herd. One of the few Americans. Oh, hats off to you. Okay. Well, that's part of being a teacher. I don't know about where you live, but boy, I mean to tell you, parents in the last 20 years have had some really creative times making up kids' names.
Oh, my wife's a teacher. I can tell you that's a
Yes,
fact.
yes, yes. Now she teaches much younger children, didn't she?
Yeah, she teaches
Yeah. Well,
pre-kindergarten.
they'll laugh and not take it personally. I taught high schoolers.
Mm.
And so I had to learn a way to say the names. When I was a soccer ref at the high school, I went down to the other side, got one of the coaches or managers and said, "Give me all your names." I had the roster, and I write out phonetic, because I never wanted to mispronounce a name on a loudspeaker.
Mm-hmm.
Might be the only time the kid ever heard his name on a loudspeaker. I wanted to get it right. Well, then I got into teaching, and I was subbing for a couple of years, and I would get them more right than wrong. And when I saw a landmine, and I said, "And then there's Miss Johnson," and I usually got the sex right. And I used to joke that some of those names seemed to be made up by grabbing into a Scrabble bag. They made no rhyme nor reason.
They're really, really different names now.
Yes, and it's fine. I don't give a damn if it's in the Bible or not, or in the Torah or not. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the names I chose for my children don't need to go on here, but yeah, they were mildly famous names in history.
So
Yeah,
naming places in the continent, and then
yeah, and you don't have to be original. If it's a swampy, miserable place, give it a swampy, miserable name.
mm-hmm.
Dreary Swamp. Where do you live? I live in Dreary Swamp. Cluster of 12 fishing village, fishermen's huts clustered around a bayou.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, there's another whole biome to go play in.
Mm-hmm.
Don't buy the horses. Well, it depends if they're cheap. I've known players that have left the horses to be eaten so they could get away.
Yeah.
So, horses, and I'm sure I just offended 3 horse lovers, but it's a game. And, when it's life or death, you leave the horses tied to the bushes and you book over the ridge and hope the wolves take long enough to eat your horses.
So we've got your basics, your continent. We've got kind of the monetary system down. We've got the names down. What would be kind of the next step in your book?
Well, you've established the level of civilization. Where are you playing? Dark Ages, early medieval, late medieval. You have to have that because that's gonna affect your weapons. They find the weapons that you use. All right, which is why I like Dark Ages because they don't have access to a lot of weapons yet, and better weapons are a great incentive
Yep.
to go explore ruins. Great incentive. And you're not even ladling golden pearls over their heads. You can have a great adventure because you know that such and such's ruins are still over there, and he collected nothing but the finest weapons. And so there's a sword, and there's a halberd, and a couple of daggers. You know, well, depending upon how you start your players. Gary started. Hey, what you start with? A shovel. That's what you started with, a shovel. We didn't have swords. Mine had a bread knife or a meat knife this long. Um, so weapons become a great source of interest to beginning characters. Now, if you've got higher level players, okay, now's a time that you think, all right, how much of this am I going to let them create as they explore it? And now you don't have to write all the history. You just got to think up bits and pieces put
Well,
together.
it's
They'll
about
give you
player
good ideas.
innovation. It's about player innovation too, because think in mind, even a cast iron skillet, right, Tim, can be a weapon.
In 2 different wheel games, I have had a bad guy dispatched with a 12-inch iron skillet. Um, and both times it was like they rolled 18, 19, whatever. 12-inch iron skillet is a formidable weapon. I once hit myself in the knee with one by accident and didn't walk the rest of the afternoon. So yeah, you don't know what's gonna go. Well, yeah, you just never know. Croquet mallet, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fun. Let them find a croquet set. No rules, no balls, just the mallets and the wickets. And they think they're weapons till they hit something the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can't have a laugh as the DM, why are you doing it?
Yep.
I'm not talking sadism, just good times. If you're laughing, they're laughing. If they're laughing, you're laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to be at Wizard Con, I'm going to run both the Lost Adventures.
Yep.
I'm going to run at least one wheel, and I might do the one we've talked about.
Yeah.
At least an advanced copy exposure to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be running 4 games. Oh damn, I'm going to be busy.
That's a pretty long weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm used to leaving on Sunday. I won't be
mm-hmm.
this time, but I'm used to that. I go up on Wednesday for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then leave on Sunday when it's Gary Con.
Mm-hmm. So after weapons and such, what would be next in the world building?
How much magic you going to have?
I think it's one of the most important parts of
Well, that's why I saved
world.
it for last.
Mm-hmm.
Is magic going to be common? Is it going to be powerful? Are you going to have hedge wizards? Witches? This is all part of magic.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have hedge. I call it a hedge wizard. 2nd, 3rd level, knows a lot of local lore. Would be laughed out of the Wizards College, but helpful friend to have. Might be, if he can speak to animals, great guy to hire if you're going to go try to clean out the wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Now again, we're talking about a beginning level or a lower level adventure, but you can have NPCs. Are you going to have a lot of NPCs, or are you going to have a few, or somewhere in between? Okay, this is part of your world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you play. I play War Worlds. I'm addicted to it. It's a turn-based strategy computer game, And when you set up the world you want to play in, are there a lot of independent city states? Are there a lot of heroes? Is it magic heavy? Those are all worthwhile considerations if you're going to begin a world, so that you don't get caught with your pants down.
Well, W. Jeffrey Heng has a question. He says, have you used art or imagery to influence your design aspects in your world building?
Hang on just a minute. Yes, tomorrow night. I'm good. All right. What about if you? I haven't talked to Don. You said you were getting a hold of it. I'm on a live podcast right now. Can I call you back in about 10 minutes? Okay. Bye. Rhino says hi. One of my gaming insiders. Sorry for the end.
No, you're
Where
fine.
was I?
W. Jeffrey Heng has a question. Says, have you used art or imagery to influence your design aspects in your world building?
I'm sure I have subconsciously. I love art books, big coffee table books. I have a bunch. I've looked at more, and I'm sure, just like I pick up crap for Jeopardy, that I have. Now, I don't design buildings or castle walls or anything like that because I have trouble drawing flies on a warm day. But I have used. There used to be a program out called Dungeony that was the most.
It's still around.
Well, it's dead. There's no parent. It's an orphan.
Oh, because it's still live online.
I know, but it's an orphan. Nobody owns it.
Oh, okay.
Well, the woman that owns it has not responded to anybody, including a good friend of mine who has pounded her for years to do something. Let us do something. But yeah, I've used that to influence my designs. And when I was using it, I did a couple, three self-produced modules, adventures, back when late 90s. No, it wouldn't have been that. It'd been mid-aughts, mid and later aughts that I was writing all those. 06, 08, 10, somewhere in there. And it's wonderful. So yeah, I've let that influence me simply because it's so luscious and sumptuous in color and design.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't think so. I've probably stolen several underground diagrams that I've seen somewhere, whether it was a city sewer system or an electrical schematic. There's lots of. I'm sure I've got lots of crap floating around back there. It's back in the percolator that I picked up from bits and pieces. But no one theme, no one genre.
Well, Jim says you may as well say magic and technology since conceptually they're virtually the same thing. Then he goes on to say game mechanics wise, I mean. And then real quick.
Yeah, well, yeah, game mechanics wise, yeah, sure. The guy that never saw a Zippo before, ooh, magic, you make fire.
Yeah.
However, Jim, Mr. Post-apocalyptic, we're talking fantasy. We don't have technology, no stinking machines run by steam or slaves. That's only what you're going to, anyway.
Well, Thias asks, is magic more common may equal less practical innovation? Less common may equal less general effect on a setting. Subtle magic like Tolkien may have profound setting of the effects, but less localized ones.
Well, yeah. By how much magic are you going to have? That's how many magical items are you going to create for them to find? Mm-hmm. How many hedge wizards and witches are going to be among your NPC pool? How much magic crap is out there waiting to be looted? And how are you going to play spells?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, old school, you couldn't use a spell until you had found a scroll. Scrolls used to be amazingly valuable. They're undervalued now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you found a scroll, rather than using it to say the spell, you could copy it into your book and now you can do it. That's old school, real old school.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to start out a group, it's a good way to start them. Let them find some scrolls. Don't get me wrong, but and they might be odd as hell. You're going to be completely random in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
There may be something about speak with flamingos, which in your entire D&D career you're never going to have an opportunity to do. It could be. DMG artifact section is full of tech masquerading as men. Yeah, I know, and I never liked that part. You know, Gary had flashlights and you're right, it's there, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. And I agree. The less magic that's out there, the more innovation it's going to spawn. When everybody can, do Dumbledore's thing with the lighter and pull out or start up all the street lights and shit. Well, yeah, when that magic becomes that common, yeah, you'll have ghosts washing your dishes.
I think that's the reason why Gary then would made magic users so weak. Wouldn't you say also at the very beginning?
Well, yeah, he didn't want magic users taking over the world.
Yeah, so he
If you were
discouraged
going
the
to survive
use.
to a high level as a magic user, you had to be an A1 player.
Yeah,
Or damned lucky, and usually a combination of the both.
Yeah,
He did not want. Gary's ideal was great big strapping youths with mighty swords and axes.
yeah,
Not old weazened guys in pointy hats incinerating everybody with a fireball.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So magic should be.
But that was Gary's prejudice, and he's entitled to it. That's the way he wanted the game to be played.
Mm-hmm.
We had a talk about that one time, and I said, that'll never happen, right? He goes,
Well, people want magic because even and not even counting like modern players who like to start with more maximum stats or powers at gaming. Even back in the day, we all wanted to be able to cast fireballs and such.
I understand the appeal. I truly do. I just deplore its hold on the game,
mm-hmm.
and the fact that all these gazillion character subclasses, whatever, have this affinity and that affinity, and no, you're almost out of time.
Yeah, we're at 58 minutes, so I mean, we could pretty much wrap this up. I know at 8:00 you have your normal thing you like to start with. Cheryl.
Yeah, Cheryl and I'll watch TV.
Yeah,
and then tomorrow I make my video. That's right.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think
silly question for fun. If you could live
have the last one,
what would it be? Something like Boot Hill, Medieval, Gamma World. Oh, if I knew what I know now, I'd go to medieval and I'd amaze people with my crude technologies.
Gotcha. Well, Tim, I think we're going to wrap it up so you can get to your 8:00.
And only one troll attack.
Yes, I banned him real quick. So, but
he won't be back.
Well, he's probably going to be back in some way, form, or another.
Another onion router
account,
fake account.
Yeah, and I think that's why he's getting through with this because they ban IP when you ban the account, and I think by using a router, he's getting different IPs. Because I've banned him several times, he still managed to get through it. So, please tell Cheryl me and Tina said hello, and again, thank you very much for coming on talking about world building. Maybe we'll do this again next week.
Yeah, I'm going to do it again for a friend online for a college class out in Maine.
Yeah.
So this gave me a warm up.
Yep.
When you design a world, would you clear things?
Jeffrey's going to get the last say, I think.
No, it's there. If I want to have fossils that'll fool them, I'll put some in, but I don't worry about how they got there. It is fantasy after all. I look at the world as a great big sticky ball of clay And I put some lumps and some clays on there, but anything else is malleable.
Yep.
Not much of an answer, but that's the best I could do.
Well, Tim, again, thank you very much.
All right.
It's very much appreciated. And you yourself have a good night. And everybody, thank you in the comments for asking questions, interacting with Tim and me.